Right, boys and girls, this is lesson 11, special right triangles. And there are two kinds of special right triangles. One is 45, 45, 90, and the 30, 60, 90. Everything is about the degrees of the triangles. The objectives are justify and apply properties of 45, 45, 90-degree triangles, justify and apply properties of 30, 60, 90-degree triangles, and finally calculate the missing side lengths of a triangle in less than a minute. So that's the main purpose, is to calculate the missing sides of a special right triangles in less than 60 seconds. The parts of a right triangle are the hypotenuse, that we know it is right across the 90-degree angle. Then we have legs, the legs. In some cases they are called L and L. In some cases they are called shorter and longer legs. The hypotenuse is always the largest side and opposite to the 90-degree angle. All special right triangles have one angle that measures 90 degrees. And as we know, there are two kinds of special right triangles, the 45, 45, 90 degrees triangle. And for this kind of triangle, we just have one formula, which is h, the hypotenuse, equals L and the square root of 2. That's the easiest one. And the 30, 60, 90-degree triangle. The sides are called S for shorter side. And as you can see, the shorter side is always opposite to the smaller angle, which is the 30 degree. And the longer side, or name L, is opposite to the 60-degree angle. And the hypotenuse is always opposite to the 90-degree angle. There are two formulas for this triangle. The hypotenuse here is h equals 2 times the shorter side, and the longer side equals to the shorter side times square root of 3. Example 1 says it's a 45. I can see that it's a 45 and 90 degree. I can see a 45 and 90 degree angle, so that means that it's a 45, 45, and 90. And with the following information, determine the missing part of the triangle. Try not to guess. So the first steps is, remember I told you that, or as you can remember, in the Pythagorean theorem, we use 6 basic steps to determine the missing sides. So here they are. The first step is determine the type of triangle. And there is a 45 and a 90-degree angle. So to complete the 180 degrees, another 45-degree angle has to be added. Second step, label each part correctly. The hypotenuse is always opposite to the 90-degree angle. And the sides are called legs. And as you can see, we had one 3 centimeter side. So the other side, since they are the same length, is also 3 centimeters. The third step, write down the formula. The formula is h equals L square root of 2. That's the formula, the only formula for a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle. The 4 steps is substitute the values. H is x, and L is 3, and part of the formula is square root of 2. Step 5, simplify if possible. And since it is already solved, x is already solved, so we don't have anything else to simplify. So that's the answer, x equals to 3 square root of 3, square root of 2. And for y is 3 centimeters. As you can see, we knew one side was 3 centimeters. So that means the other side, the same length, is also 3 centimeters. That's why we have y equals to 3 centimeters. Example 2, We can see that there's a 45-degree angle in the right angle. So that means the triangle is a 45, 45, 90-degree triangle. And same as before, with the following information, determine the missing parts of the triangle. So first step, determine the type of triangle. We have a 45, 45, we have a 45-degree angle, then there's another 45-degree angle. Second step, label each part correctly. And as we know, the hypotenuse is always opposite to the 90-degree angle. We trace the line. Whatever the line touches is your hypotenuse, so it's the 12-centimeter side. The sides are called legs. So we have two legs. One is X, the other is Y. Third step, write down the formula. All right, in this case, H is 12 centimeters and L is X. You can use X or Y, either one in this case, because both are equal. For step, substitute the values. H is 12, L is X, and then square root of 2 is part of the formula. And as you can see, we have to solve for X. That's the fifth step, solve for X. So we divide by square root of 2. The problem now is that we have a radical at the bottom, so we need to rationalize the denominator. We need to fix this answer. Remember, we talked about that before. 6 steps, simplify. And see, we have to rationalize the denominator. So we will have 12 square root of 2 divided by 2. Remember that this radical, so we can do it, this radical, the square root of 2, you have to bring it at the top and then leave the number 2 at the bottom. Anyhow, we have 12 divided by 2. You can see the fraction over here. So we need to simplify that part. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. So we have 6 square root of 2 is X. But also we need to find Y. But Y is equals to X because both sides have the same length. So the answer for X is 6 square root of 2, but also Y is 6 square root of 2 because these two in a 45, 45, 90 degree special right triangle, these two sides are equal. Okay, example 3. This is different. As you can see, we have a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. And we have to find X and Y. The first step is identify the type of triangle. We already did. It's a 30, 60, 90. Okay, all right, just giving the arrows. Yeah, they have to disappear. All right. All right, second step, label each part correctly. Let's label it. First thing, remember, the hypotenuse is always opposite to the 90-degree angle. That's H. Remember, we probably forgot the line. There's the line. And the shorter side is always opposite to the smaller angle. And the longer side is always opposite to the bigger angles. As you can see, the side labeled as L, opposite to the 60, is longer. And the side labeled as S is opposite to the 30-degree angle. Third step, select the formula. Let's always choose the formula for H because it's the easier one. And as you can see, it's H equals 2 times S, so 2 times S. Let's substitute the values. H is, as you can see, is 22. Then number 2 is a number 2, and then S is X. So that's why our equation is now 22 equals to 2X. we have to simplify that. We have to divide by 2 because we have to solve for x. So we divide 25 by 2 is 11. So x is 11. We have the value of x. Now let's choose the second formula. Write it down. L equals to s square root of 3. L is y, s is, we know that now s is x, but x is 11. See, so it is y equals 11 square root of 3, and everything is already solved. We don't have to solve for y. Simplify possible, but since everything is already in the simplest form, those are the, let's go back. I don't know if I can go back. Okay, it's fine. Example 4, find the values of x and y in a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Same as before, we have a 30, 60, 90. Step 1, identify the type of triangle. It's a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Let's wait for the arrows. And gone. Okay. So second step, label each part correctly. The hypotenuse is always opposite to the 90 degree angle. That's my hypotenuse. The shorter side is always opposite to the smaller angle. So this is opposite to the 30 degree angle. And the longer side is always opposite to the bigger angle, which is the 60 degree angle. Everything is labeled correctly. Step 3, select the formula. So remember that our first formula is for the hypotenuse, and hypotenuse is 2 times the shorter side. Let's substitute values. H is y, 2 is 2, and S is x. There's a little problem here because we have one equation with 2 variables, x and y. So it is impossible to solve. So we leave it for a minute. See, solve for x, but we have 2 variables, so it's impossible to solve. And select the second formula. So in this case, every time you have the formula for h with 2 variables, when you substitute, after you substitute, if you have x and y, you can't solve for either one of the variables. So let's go to the other formula. Select the second formula for the longer side, and that one has to work. The formula is longer side equals s times square root of 3. Then substitute the values. So L is 15, S is x, and the square root of 3 is the square root of 3. Now we can solve for x. So the square root of 3 is affecting the x, so we have to divide by square root of 3 on both sides. So we have 15 divided by square root of 3 equals to x. So and now it is solved, but we have a little problem here because we have a radical at the denominator. So I have to rationalize that denominator, and you already know how to do that. So what we do is we take the square root of 3 at the top, and we leave the number 3 at the bottom. But still we have to simplify the denominator. As you can see, we have a fraction here, 15 over 3. So 15 over 3 is 5, so x equals 5 and the square root of 3. Now we continue working with we go back to this step, and we have x equals to the square root of 3, so we plug in now in the formula, so y equals to 2x in that formula. So y equals to 2 is 2, and x is the square root of, is 5 and the square root of 3. So we plug it in here. And now we have 2 and 5 that are multiplying. Simplify possible. So 2 times 5 is 10. So y equals 10 square root of 3 and x 5 in the square root of 3. Very simple. All right, guys, this is a DIY. So you can pause it for a couple of minutes and try to solve by yourself, and then continue playing the video. So for the step The first step is determine the type of triangle. We can see a 60-degree there and a 90-degree angle. So the other angle has to be 30 degrees. And we have a 30, 60, 90. The two angles, 30 and 60. And we also see the 90 and the hypotenuse across it. Let's wait for the arrows. All right. So level each part correctly. The hypotenuse is always opposite to the 90-degree angle, as we can see here. Now the shorter side is opposite to the smaller angle, so we can see X is the shorter side. So that's S now, and it's opposite to the 30-degree angle. The larger side is opposite to the bigger angle. That's Y, and it's opposite to the 60-degree angle. So we label it as L. Step 3, select the formula. So as I said before, we let's make it a rule. Always choose the easier formula, which is H equals to 2S. Step 4, plug in corresponding values. So H, you can see that is 18 and the square root of 3. 2 is 2, and S is X. Step 5, solve for X. So the only value affecting X is 2. We divide by 2 on both sides. And if you can see, we have a fraction here, the 18 and the 2. So that's 18 divided by 2, 9. But don't forget about the square root of 3. Next is use the second formula, the formula for L. L equals the shorter side times the square root of 3. Plug in corresponding values. So we have L equals Y. S is, we already have S, which is X, 9 square root of 3. And square root of 3, that is part of the formula. When we have a double radical, I mean the same radical twice, it's just 3. I made a mistake here. So this is not a 9, this is a 3. So step 6, simplify. So we have 9 and 3, 27. So we have X equals 9 square root of 3 and Y equals to 27. Sometimes it's really easy. Sometimes it gets complicated, but not impossible to do. Okay, so this is our second exercise, our second DIY. Find the values of X and Y, give your answer in the simplest radical form. So I can see that there's a 45 degree angle. So definitely that triangle is a 45, 45, 90. First step, determine the type of triangle. We already said it, 45, 45, 90. That's the 45, there's another 45. Let's wait for the arrows. Second step, label each part correctly. Both sides are equal, both sides L equals to L. This side and that side are L and L. That's the hypotenuse. So both sides are equal. So the left side is 10 square root of 2. So the top side has to be the same value. L. Step 3, write down the corresponding formula. So the only formula for a 45, 45, 90 is H equals L square root of 2. Step 4, substitute values. H is X, L is 10 square root of 2, and we have another square root of 2, so double square root of 2. We know what to do in that case. Solve for X. X is already solved, so last step, which is supposed to be 6, not 5. Simplify if possible. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is just 2. So 10 times 2 is 20, so X equals 20. And since L equals to L, both sides are equal. y is 10 in the square root of 2. As you can see here, one side is 10 in the square root of 2, which was already given to us at the beginning of the problem, and there's the other 10 in the square root of 2. And finally, just the checklist on your packet. Just check, can I justify and apply properties of 45, 45, 90-degree triangles? We did. Can I justify and apply properties of 30, 60, 90-degree triangles? We did. And finally, can I calculate the missing side lengths of triangle in less than a minute? It's possible. It probably took longer for us during the explanation, but I bet you can do that easily. All right, guys, good luck. Finish your lesson packet and then your questionnaire in the practice. All right, see you in the next lesson.